Rachel here. Welcome to my Slow TV Stitchery. Well, good morning everyone. I wonder how many of you recognise this. This is my first attempt at Tynemouth Priory. Oh dear, that's wrong. For the 100 Hearts project, leaving the Tyne. And when I had done it, I realised that somewhere along the way I'd got the colours completely wrong, so that whatever else I could do with it and whatever advantages I'd managed to achieve with the wool stitching and the cotton details and my little needle lace ruins, they weren't going to go with the already stitched flag sunrise background, and I'd best stop and do it again and think a little harder about the colours, which is all very well, except that I rather liked the start I'd made and felt it would be a pity, to put it no higher, not to continue and do the thing properly. So since I have designated this the year of finishes and experiments, I'm going to see whether I can keep going on this for long enough to finish it, or come up with a good reason why I shouldn't. And I'm very fond of this view, so I would in fact really rather like to finish it. Now I started with some very odd combinations of thread now I look at them. And I don't know how well they're going to work and whether I'm going to howl with despair and unpick them all. Let's hope not. But for now I'm using a cotton à broder and a canvas work stitch. And I am wondering all of a sudden now whether in fact I need to put my coloured stitching closer to the horizon and my white stitching further out. Challenge is going to be balancing my thread colours and weights, because although they are roughly the same weight, the accent is on the word roughly, and I think my variegated thread is slightly more lofty than the white or the blue. I will have to put something for the water a little bit lower down as well, but fortunately I think not very much. And time enough to work that out once I've got the sky in. As I'm stitching, I'm looking at how I rendered the Priory and remembering how I tackled it. And it's quite pleasing. Because it is one of the ones where, having done a sort of broad brush, I then went back and added details more or less by eye, and it's not so long ago that I wouldn't have had the nerve to do that. And being reminded that I had the nerve to do it in 2018 is quite encouraging, because it means that I got to that point a bit earlier than I remembered. Now, even though I'm working on a stand, I'm having to use one hand to keep the frame in place. Because it's so light and small. I would love to be working two-handed, but this frame isn't heavy enough to stay in place without a little firm guidance. I've also been thinking, some years ago I thought I would like to embellish a little woolen jacket that I inherited from a great aunt, and didn't manage to think of what to do with it. Naturally, I have half ideas and then don't have the full idea. I am thinking what I might do is, as with the coat of many flowers, borrow some of the shapes from Grandmama's tablecloth and put them together in yet another different way, and start having fun with them. So, yet another thing to think about in my year of finishes and experiments. And carry on with my chosen stitch here. I can't remember what it's called just at the moment. Is it condensed mosaic stitch? Anyway, I'm carrying on with it because I think it's about the right scale for everything that's already done, and I would rather continue, because I know I thought about it before I started, and if I can't reconstruct my thoughts, I should at least be able to trust my own judgment. But I am going to have to play around a little with the colours and where I place them, because that I'm not quite so sure about. not the least of the challenges of doing something like this is that, in the words of Bob Ross, you have to make a big decision here at various points. But before you can make your big decision, you have to decide what the context for the big decision is and what the important choice is going to be. I thought important to continue with stitches which are contained rather than flowing into one another. So the stonework is actually brick stitch with embellishments. There's gobelin stitch, but if I remember rightly, that was done over needles to make it remain raised, and that's worked really well. I'm happy with that. So more stone in brick stitch down here, and the foresty part is actually in two different colours of wool, and I've stitched that vertically. Now, heaven only knows if I'm doing this in what passes for a sensible way. should have bound the edges of this bit of fabric before I started stitching on it all those years ago. Just goes to show that if you cut corners, it always comes back to bite you. That's all for this session. I hope you enjoyed following along. Happy stitching!